change your mind, if you change your mind.
I need to be really honest with you guys. There was nothing wrong when it comes to this episode involving Lars' character and the off-cuddles. The problem is that the Steven and Connie thing got in the way to the point that the execution of them all just overshadows everything that I feel about this episode and the following episode, Jungle Moon. I'm really sorry, guys. I really tried to look at this episode on its own, especially the lesson it's trying to teach when it came to moving forward without being depressed all the time. But the thing is, it still eliminated the development of Lars becoming a space pilot, and I wouldn't mind if Steven was with him when it came to him coming out from his hail. It's just of how the Steven and Kai thing got in the way. It just made me think less about this episode and how it could have been a lot more better if it had an episode of Lars stealing a ship rather than explaining to us. Believe me, the show don't tell thing is something I'm not good at when it comes to fanfics, but when it comes to this, when I see it in point blank view, I really feel like that it should have happened on screen rather than explaining it to us. I need to be really honest with you guys. If I did include this episode in my Carniverse episodes, I would still have the same problems with it regardless, all the while just find the qualities difficult to get into due to everything happening off screen. And this is literally one of the problems that I have with Season 5 when it came to the conflict of Steven and Connie. Trust me when I say this, when I don't agree with every single decision, this is one of them. Here's what the episode is trying to do. Lars and the off-cuddles became space pilots, which is supposed to be a reference to Star Trek, which I don't think there are space pilots in Star Trek, but mainly the setting of Lars being in charge while going against enemies by talking to them on camera while in outer space is similar to how Star Trek characters do, which for me personally, I can totally understand that they're trying to give Lars the rise to the occasion in order to make himself feel better, which is in the same ways of what Sadie did in the last episode that I've talked about yesterday. But the biggest problem with that is his rise to the occasion really felt underwhelming for how rushed it is. Like, even though that you can understand that the first episodes of Season 5 happened way in mid 2017, while these episodes aired in early 2018, I can't imagine how people felt when they witnessed Lars in this predicament, only to realize that they wanted more from the character for how he was portrayed in the first 4 episodes of Season 5. It's a huge missed opportunity that really made me question onto how people can still be okay with Steven and Connie together after the separation, which leads to so much potential being overshadowed and being dropped for the sake of having conflict between the two. Believe me, every time I think about this, it just makes me more confused and really difficult to see the quality involving Lars and the off-colors when another development that got in the way that shouldn't need to get in the way when it came to Connie taking Lion away from Steven, which for me personally, Steven doesn't deserve that for how he went through so much. And coming back to Lars when Steven and Connie tells him to move forward when it comes to how Sadie is enjoying her life as being part of the Cool Kids band, which really made him depressed, which leads to Steven and Connie fusing together. I'm sorry, but this moment didn't work. It never worked for me, especially after rewatching the episode. Trust me when I say this isn't emotionally manipulative, but at the same time, it's way too underwhelming for me to be into this be into this predicament on whether if this scene was good or not, which for me personally, it's neither, but that doesn't automatically mean that this is okay. It just feels like it should have been better it should have been a better executed scene if the development of Steven and Connie's relationship and Lars' development was equally fine while having an episode, just one episode of Steven, Lars, and the Off-Cutters escaping from Homeworld in order to become space pirates. As far as I'm concerned, if people who made this episode took inspiration from Star Trek, they probably only took the parody of Star Trek Leslie and not taking it a little too literally when it comes to stealing a ship, because I'm just having more questions onto how Lars became a space pirate along with the Off-Cutters operating the ship. Even if they did explain it, at the same time, I'm still having a difficult time believing that. Here's the thing, I can ignore one thing if it wasn't connected to another thing. But with this, having one thing be connected to another thing when it comes to Steven and Connie coming with each other when it comes to the first space mission, it really feels lackluster because all I can think of is that this space mission would have happened in the premiere if Connie came along. Because every time I think of how they executed this, it just feels like that this is a lot more lackluster. And for what Connie said in Kevin's party, it really feels emotionless. It really does. And as far as I'm concerned, everything that I stated centering around Connie's character from the Converse episodes along with the new Crystal Gems, it just makes it difficult for me to understand the whole point of view at times. If anything, this sums up a lot onto why that this episode was difficult for me to grow attached towards Lars and how he became a space pirate along with his depression that Sadie is happy without him. Believe me, the message would have worked if the execution involving two arcs coming together were fully established and having a better direction. Trust me when I say this, is that Lars's new life on becoming a space pirate would have made me hooked if we actually had an episode centering around that with him and the Off-Cutters escaping, because it really feels like that it was no problem at all that they escaped the situation that they were in the premiere of this season, which really makes the struggle in the first 5 episodes non-existent. Like, you could still see the fear and struggle and what Steven said, it's okay to be afraid, but when it comes to after that, it really feels like that all that fear is just wished away. Not really wished away, but basically drifted away as if it was nothing. Like just normal wind. Honestly, I would have enjoyed the battle between Lars against one of the gems around the galaxy if it had better direction. And to tell you the truth, with these problems centering around this episode in Jungle Moon, I wasn't really a fan of these episodes due to that. Believe me, I really feel like that it would have been much more better if it had better direction involving 2 arcs. If you ask me, it's just one of those examples that you try to understand it, but when you have the same result and thinking a little too much while trying to get into it, it just really feels overwhelming rather than underwhelming. Like, all this is underwhelming still, but when it comes to how you feel, it's overwhelming. I'm not saying I wanted a lot when it comes to Lars and the Off-Cutters. 1 episode is enough. It's just that for how I think about these elements, it's just difficult to focus on the main element of the episode itself along with the following episode, Jungle Moon. Trust me, it's just something that I can't be able to cooperate completely for thinking of multiple things at once when they're part of an episode that was supposed to see the point of view of Lars when everything is happening off screen. Because when Lars had Steven's powers on being pink and having the alternative for Steven to come back to Homeworld while also leaving, I'm really starting to think that there would have been a lot more better options, and what we ended up getting just feels really, really disappointing. Now, yes, the following episode that I'm going to be talking about tomorrow has Lars in the off-colors again. I'm fully aware that nothing in that episode had the same problems as this episode. But the thing is, whenever I think about this and the Jungle Moon, all I can think of is, how can I take the main plot seriously when other arcs that interfere made it difficult for me to enjoy, especially Jungle Moon itself. If I really revisit Jungle Moon, I would still have a difficult time seeing the quality in that episode as much as everyone else did. With that being said, I'm giving this episode a 6.75 out of 10. When you get a rating that average, it sums up a lot that everything around it needs to be in the same balance and not fully in the way of the arc that people really wanted it from after months of waiting. As far as I'm concerned, the hiatuses is taken into full gear, even though I wasn't part of the hiatuses to begin with. Mainly the point of view of the audience who watched these episodes when they were airing in 2017 and 2018.